you're going to write this book, okay? So when you're there just playing this through your mind, okay? What is it that you're thinking about? Are you thinking about, okay, I want to write this book? Are you thinking about your safety? Are you thinking about the risk? When you told family members or anybody about your thoughts of doing this, what was their response?
Well, I realized that there was a lot of danger in this, but I had purchased, and to this day I still own probably every book written on the Ku Klux Klan, and so I know the mentality. I know how the organization works. I know as much, if not more, than Klan members know about their own organization. So I went into these meetings armed. Not with weapons, but armed with information, with knowledge. So when you come to somebody and you know as much about them, if not more, than they know about themselves, they tend to listen to you. They may not like you, but they respect your knowledge. And what I would do is I would set up these meetings, and the Klan members who agreed to meet, they would not be told that I was black. So they wouldn't know that until they came to the meeting. And I had my secretary call them on the phone and say, she's working for a man who's writing a book on the Klan. Would you consent to sitting down and having an interview? And those who said yes, either they would name some neutral location where we would meet, like a motel room or a restaurant, or they would invite me over to their house, not realizing that I was black. Because no book, except for mine, no book before mine written on the Klan had ever been written by a black author. They'd all been written by white authors. So, of course, these people were not expecting a black author to show up at their house. So, of course, when I would show up at the restaurant or the motel or whatever, or their home, of course, they were shocked. And in some cases, some would not talk to me. In other cases, a couple, wanted to fight and all that kind of thing. And then the rest of them, after they got over the shock, they would sit down and talk. Some would come out on the porch of their house and talk, or a few would invite me in, and we would sit in the living room or at their kitchen table and talk.
What can I just ask? What is it? What do you know? How do you see just that issue of color?
How do I see what?
Color, the issue of color and race.
I'm not understanding the one word. I'm not hearing.
Color.
How do I see it?
Color.
Cora?
Color.
Oh, color.
Yeah.
Scientifically, there is only one race. There are different colors within that race. But people want to divide. They want to call black people a race, white people a race, Hispanics a race, Asians a race. There is no difference scientifically. Now, we have cultural differences for sure, and perhaps, physical characteristic differences depending upon what part of the earth, we're from. But essentially, we all are the same race. So that's how I see it. And, and I realize, that is not the way a lot of other people, particularly racists, see it. But really what it is, and especially in this country, in the United States, with black and white, it's more of a cultural thing than it is a racial thing. Yes, it's called racial, but it's more of a cultural thing because, a lot of black people in the 1940s and 1950s left the United States and moved to France, where they were treated as equals and with a great deal of respect. So, there's no racial difference. It's a cultural difference. And it is indigenous to this particular country because blacks, we came out of slavery where the whites at one time owned us. We were the oppressed, they were the oppressors. And so after slavery ended and the blacks were freed, it would take a long time, and it's still going on, to where the people who were in power, being the white establishment, could accept that the people that they once owned were now their equals and should be allowed to walk through the same front door, sit in the front of the bus, eat in the same restaurant, sit at the same table, go to the same restroom, drink from the same water fountain, all this. That was very, very hard for them to accept. And unfortunately, even in the 21st century, slavery ended in this country in 1865. And here we are in 2015, and we still see a lot of this residual racism, which is very unfortunate. But that is the core of it. That's why, you didn't find that in France. They didn't, have slavery in France where they enslaved black people. So their perspective on black people is much different because they didn't own them. So they welcomed them as an equal, which is why many black Americans back in the day relocated to France.
Okay. So what level then, in starting your book, do you go in meeting somebody from the KKK? Obviously, just having that inclination to write that book in the first place, you want to get to the top. But where do you start? Who was your first meeting?
Okay, what I did was I started with the Grand Dragon of Maryland. Now, let me explain how the hierarchy of the Ku Klux Klan works. Today, there is no such thing, and it hasn't been for a long time, as the Ku Klux Klan. In other words, there's no Ku Klux Klan Central, one Klan. There are many Ku Klux Klan groups in this country, and each group is autonomous. They are individual groups. They have their own individual leaders. All the groups wear the same colors on their robe that designate their rank. They use the same terminology, the same titles. They use the same secret passwords and same secret handshake, etc. They basically have the same bylaws. But what happened is, when the Klan was first formed back in 1865 and then revived in 1915, it was just one Klan with chapters of that one Klan spread out around the country. But then a lot of infighting would occur, and the chapters would splinter off and form their own Klan groups. So these were called splinter groups. So today, you don't have a main Klan group. You have an assortment of many, many splinter groups that all believe the same thing and all dress alike, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have a chapter in your state of your particular Klan group, like you might, each group uses the name Ku Klux Klan. So they might call, one group will be called the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. Another one will be called the Invincible Empire, Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. The Dixie Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. These are all separate Klan groups. So if you have a Klan group in your state and you establish a chapter of your particular Klan group in another state or in multiple states, you may then consider yourself to be a national Klan group. Mm-hmm. And therefore, you must appoint a national leader who oversees all the states in which you have a chapter of your particular Klan group. Now, in my country, the United States, we call our national leader, who oversees all the states, we call that person the president. In Klan terminology, their national leader is known as the Imperial Wizard. Anybody who is prefixed with the word imperial means that person is a national officer. Okay. A wizard is like a president. An imperial caliph would be like a vice president. So then you got your national leader. Each state must have a leader who responds to the president. Our state leader, we call them a governor. In Klan terminology, that individual is known as the Grand Dragon. That means state leader. A Grand Caliph would be like a lieutenant governor, a vice governor. And then within the state, you have counties. The county leader is known as the Great Titan. Anybody great is on the county level. And then within the county, you have districts, which is headed by what we call a mayor, a councilman, an alderman. That individual is known as an exalted cyclops. And at every level, you have treasurers, secretaries, etc., and they all have K names, like Claby, Clud, Cladaro, and all that. Exalted would be first an exalted Claby or an imperial Claby. Claby means treasurer. So things like that. Now these titles, these names actually came. The original Klan members, the first Klan group, was formed in 1865. They all were of Irish and Scottish descent, and they